I wanted to update you guys briefly on how my current SMA condition is going. My SMA is okay. It's not the greatest. A quick backstory is I am starting to come to the realization that my disability might actually be getting to the next stage where my disability is progressing, my SMA is progressing, and I am coming into terms that one is something that I have to accept, like I have accepted numerous times in the past. Me going from pushing myself in a manual wheelchair to no longer being able to do so, where I have to rely on a powerized wheelchair to get me around. That alone, that transition can really get to you mentally, as you can imagine. So that's just one example of many. I am coming to the realization that my disability most likely is getting to the next stage where my disability is progressing. And I'll give you an example as to why I'm starting to feel this way. And compared to my past, is for those of you who keep up with my content, and I do try to update you guys regularly on my, or I try as much as possible to update you guys on how my SMA is doing, is you guys know that I take Spinal injections, which helps me with my SMA. It's not a cure, however, it is a form of treatment that helps stabilize my progressiveness from progressing as significant compared to me not taking the medication. To give you a quick example, is before I started taking Spinraza, I used to struggle picking up my phone, writing, feeding myself, brushing my teeth, anything to do with my daily routine. I was struggling quite a bit, and I was in school at the time, so as you can imagine, I was going through quite a bit physically with my muscle strength. And after I started taking the injections, then I started to see the contrary side of it. I started to see the upsides. I started to see a slight reverse where I was able to write more. I was able to pick up my phone. I was able to brush my teeth, feed myself, pick up my drink. I was able to take care of my daily needs as the best that I could. I was able to do it much better than before I was taking the injection. And I'm starting to come into the terms that my disability may be progressing for the mere fact is, one, is my grandmother had recently passed, so and I'll explain why in a second this is relevant to this conversation, is my grandmother had recently passed, and by her passing, of course, there was a lot that went on behind the scenes with like helping with the montage, setting up pictures, helping with the eulogy, helping with anything that I could do to make sure that my mother and my tias, the family, had the most memorable and best beautiful experience possible. I did overexert myself a lot on the computer because I know how to do certain things, especially when it comes with photos. I know how to do graphic design than just an average beginner. So I did overexert myself a lot. And then on top of that, during the process of her passing and then going to the having the burial services, having her services, I was also doing my own work that I do personally on the side, which is building my personal brand. I have several personal brands that I'm working on, and I also have a few other things that I'm working on the side that I haven't quite talked about or mentioned publicly yet. So as you can imagine, I was putting in a lot more effort than my usual. So of course I'm going to start to feel fatigue. And then my grandma passed too was more like this fly is in here for some reason. And anyhow, so my grandmother had recently passed, and of course she was more like a second mother to me. So by her being a second mother, it's going to get to you emotionally, right? So a lot of sleepless nights as well. There was a lot of sleepless nights as well. So during that time is my grandmother passed in June. So all this took place in June. So during that time, as you can imagine, of course that's going to play a role. For me, having SMA, I'm very limited as it is by default, really. And the more effort that I do or put it towards anything, really, it's going to make me feel fatigue. Anything that I do takes some form of energy and muscle, and the more energy that I put towards something, I will start to feel fatigue I will start to feel fatigue a lot faster than most. So by me putting in a lot more effort, like the reason, like how I said, with like helping with my grandmother's services, and then dealing with my own personal stuff as well, personal and professional stuff as well, did take its toll on me, as you can imagine. On top of that, there was a lot of sleepless nights, as you can imagine, will even to play its role. Not just because I have SMA, but that happens with anybody in general, right? Of course, it's going to hit me a little bit harder because of SMA. It's going to affect me a little bit differently than the average person. And then, not to mention that I did happen to get sick right before the services, having a cough, congestion, my usual stuff where I almost had to go to the hospital. Fortunately, I was able to prevent it by doing my normal routine here at the house, and I was able to prevent me from having to go to the hospital. So those three things definitely played a significant role, where I began struggling a lot more than I previously was before everything had taken place. And during that process, I became so fatigued where I actually needed help feeding myself. I haven't had my mom feed me in quite some time, so that was it wasn't something easy for me to like accept. And my mom had to feed me a few times along with my sister when my sister was here. And that wasn't, I know they don't mind, but it's just a thought of like being able to do it and then the next you're not able to can really get to you mentally. It really can. And so the reason why I mentioned that is me thinking, okay, you know what? Yeah, now after the services, now it's time to rest. Now it's time to slow it down a little bit. I did slow it down quite a bit, but however, there's only so much that I can do to really slow it down, because I also have commitments that I have to commit to regardless of how I feel, regardless of how I wake up, whether I'm feeling 100% my best or whether I'm feeling, not my best. I have to take care of certain things behind the scenes in order for me to get to where it is I'm trying to go. And so the reason why I mentioned that is because in the time I was thinking, okay, you know what? I don't think your SMA is progressing. I wouldn't jump too much to that thought yet. Maybe it's just simply you overexerted yourself. And then, of course, sleepless nights on top of you feeling sick. Those three combinations, of course, is going to affect you tremendously on top of having SMA, right? And so that was my initial thought in the beginning. So when I started to feel that way, where I was feeling a lot more fatigue, I factored that into the equation, and I told myself, don't jump to the thought yet that your SMA is progressing. And after I gave it some time, and I started to kind of go back to my normal daily routine, then it became time to have my Spinal injection. I just received my Spinal injection. I believe it was my 22nd, maybe 23rd. I believe it's my 22nd though. And I just had my 22nd injection. And usually when I have my injection, so I get these injections every 4 months. And around the third month, I'll start to feel a slight decline. Not too significant, but I will start to feel a decline where I will struggle with like my daily routines. But not to the extent that I was feeling this time. And after I had the injection, I started to feel a lot better. However, not to how I was previously. Not to my normalcy, I would say. And because of that, and now it's been several weeks, and now it's been a few weeks, I'm starting to come to the realization that my SMA might have actually hit the next stage within my life. And it's just something that you personally have to accept. And the point of this though is me sharing this is, one, it's an update on my personal journey for those of you who like to hear more about my story, like to hear about how I'm doing. One, it's it's personal documentation. One, I want to inform you guys like how I'm currently doing, like an update on my life. 2, personal documentation on my channel and on my page, on my brand. And 3, the point of this is, in life, you are going to come across many moments where you are going to have one of 2 choices. And that is, 1, your situation is going to change, whether it's a health diagnosis, whether it's a loved one has passed, whether it's personal family issues going on, whether it's personally stuff going on, within your own mind, even within your heart. There's going to be stuff that are going to happen. Things are going to change. It's inevitable. It is bound to happen. Things are inevitably going to change. And it is in those moments that oftentimes a lot of us get stuck and we don't transition into change. We don't know how to adapt to that change. It is very important that you find the strength, the ability, for me it's the faith, to adapt to your situation, that no matter what you are going through, how you may be feeling, especially privately, that you continue to find the strength to put one foot in front of the other, and you find the faith that no matter what happens, everything will be okay. And the only way faith can work is you can't just have faith, everything will be okay, and do nothing. That's not how faith works. That's not how God works. That's not how life works. The only way that you can give yourself reassurance that everything will be okay is by you doing your part, is you meeting God halfway, you meeting life halfway. That's by putting one foot in front of the other. And that is how we are able to adapt to our situations, and we're able to make our bad situations better. Because you put the work in. You took the necessary steps that you needed to help you get through what it is you were going through. Now, it may not take a day, it may not take a few days, it may not take a few weeks, it might not even take a few months. It's going to take years, depending on the severity of your situation. But I can assure you, and I can 99% promise you that everything will be okay. And the reason why I don't say 100% is because I can't determine if you are willing to put in the work or not. You create the opportunity by putting in the work. That's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, even financially. I wanted to make this video. I hope this video was able to bring some form of value to and for you. This has been something on my mind for quite a bit, and I wanted to personally open up a little bit more and share some thoughts of mine. Usually when it comes to my SMA, especially to this extent, I personally like to keep to myself, just because really there's nothing anybody can do, and there's really nothing anyone can do, and everybody's going through their own stuff. So I try to prevent from sharing some feelings or things that are going on, with my SMA, just because, again, everybody's going through something, they have their own stuff to worry about. And again, there's nothing you can do. This is something that I knew was eventually going to come with my SMA, like with the progressiveness, because my SMA is progressive, right? And not only is it progressive, and not only do I know that, but I've experienced it time in and time out several times. Excuses fly. And so it's nothing new to me. But the way I was feeling, the way I currently am feeling, maybe I'll still have a turnaround within these upcoming weeks. That is possible. Anything's possible, really. I literally experienced the impossible become possible several times. So that's just how God works. But I wanted to mention too is back to what I was saying is my SMA is progressive. So not only do I not only know that, but I've experienced it several times throughout a very large majority of my life. It's just something that it's something that kind of becomes your normalcy, really. And I wanted to share that with you. But the way that I am currently feeling now, I personally was expecting to feel maybe around 28, maybe around 29. I was personally expecting to feel within the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm feeling that way now. So, yeah, I wanted to share that. Excuse this fly. This fly came out of nowhere. I'm gonna make a joke out of it and say it's good luck. But anyhow, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And remember, grow through what you go through. Much love.